welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about judgment. So judgment is often something that is looked down upon in our society. It is thought of as something that is negative or coming from a mean or harsh place. And especially in the spiritual world, especially in the spiritual communities, you have a lot of people saying like you should get rid of judgment and things like that. Today I want to give you a different perspective on judgment. Today I want to give you a more open and understanding view of this powerful tool that we all have. So judgment is ultimately a tool. It is your discernment. It is your ability to rationally make decisions based off the information that is presented to you. Today, we often think of judgment as a negative thing because it's linked to the idea of persecution. If you think of someone going to prison, they're judged by a court and then they're persecuted and they are punished. So we've kind of merged those meanings in our mind where we often think that if something is judged as bad, then they should be punished for it. Judgment is separate from the idea of persecution. Judgment is separate from the idea of punishment. Judgment is a very natural process. It's something that's often going to happen even without your conscious awareness. And it gives you a lot of information. So the only time judgment really becomes a negative thing is when you start to make your judgments the other person or the other thing's fault. So if I see someone and I judge something negatively about them, and then I start to focus negatively on that person because of that judgment, making that judgment that person's fault, then it becomes harmful. Then it becomes almost like a psychic attack against that person. However, if I take my judgments and I use them as information, I realize that I don't have objective perspective. I have a very subjective opinion. So does everyone. We live from our personal perspective, and that's the only way we can see the world. So I'm coming from my subjective view. Just because I judge someone doesn't mean I am accurate. It doesn't mean that I have the full picture of them. It doesn't mean that I understand why they may display this trait or display this behavior. All it means is information for me. So oftentimes what you judge in another is something that you've rejected in yourself. What you find lots of negative rejection when you see it in a different person is something you feel bad about expressing yourself. Now, if you use that as a way to get closer to that disowned part of yourself, the part of yourself that you have rejected, rather than make it this other person's problem that you're feeling negative about them, you can actually cause so much healing and positive well-being within yourself. You can integrate that aspect of you and you can walk through this world a lot more aligned and a lot more positive. Now, sometimes your judgments are reflections of yourself that you're seeing in other people. Other times, your judgments are just very accurate information. Sometimes when you are judging someone negatively, it is because their energy is not a match to yours at all. They do not synergize with you. Their energy and your energy does not have anything for each other. That happens. We are not compatible to every single person on this planet. Our energy is not what every single person needs. Some people, you may be their medicine, and some people, you may be their poison. And that's the same for everyone in this world. So sometimes your judgments, even if they seem harsh, are protecting you from people that are not synergizing with your energy, that are not a match to you. And that is not their fault, and that is not your fault either. It just simply is. You know, if you're a very peaceful person and you see someone expressing extreme emotion, you might feel negative about that. It doesn't mean their extreme emotions are wrong. It just means it doesn't match with you. Now, the third level of judgment is that it can actually be really beneficial for the people around you, especially the people you care about and love, to hear your judgments. Sometimes your judgments are information that they need. Often in relationships, we can get into patterns of placation, people pleasing, validating everything someone does, no matter, or thinks, no matter how right or wrong we feel it is. You can just keep quiet and enable negative patterns rather than give them the opportunity to see them. Now, when you give judgment, it's a hard thing to do. I definitely do not know how to navigate that tightrope in the best way possible. When you give judgment, though, sometimes it's a gift. Sometimes it is exactly what that person needs to have a more happy, prosperous life. Sometimes things that we are doing are destroying ourselves or destroying our relationships with people, and we can't see it because we're so far in that perspective. So when you give them your judgment, you are actually helping them to align with more love, more peace, more happiness, or whatever the case may be, a better experience. So your judgment is very valuable. And even if it's a random person judgment, now this does take being really open to do this. But if some random person judges you in a really harsh or negative way, you can take that judgment and you can consider it. Now, if you honestly consider that judgment, you can use it as information for yourself. So this person could be completely wrong. They could be partially right. They could be like 60-40% right. You have no idea, right? But if this is how they are seeing you, this may be how other people see you. And so say someone judges you as really negative and you take that in and you consider it and you decide that you don't want to come off as negative. You don't want that to be the perspective of you. So you take steps to understand where this is coming from and shift this within yourself. Or you take in that judgment and you think, yeah, I'm negative. Like, shit's not the best right now. Or maybe you have like a dark sense of humor that's really funny, or I don't know, something that trait isn't a negative thing for you, even though someone else may be, in a bubble of positivity and they may be like, oh, I don't like how that feels. Doesn't mean that other people won't, because some people might actually eat that up. Some people, your negative viewpoint may be very validating to their perspective. It may allow them to honor their own feelings. It may allow them to see the pain that they're experiencing in their life really honestly. And so you being negative, you might decide is actually a really positive thing. And then you can turn that all the way up. You can turn it the fuck up and you can be like, yeah, I'm going to display this trait to people so that when people meet me, they're going to know right off the bat whether or not they can blend with that or not, whether or not they can synergize with that energy or not. So judgment is very useful. Judgment is a tool for self-awareness for everyone who decides to consider it. So you can use your own judgments for self-awareness. You can use other people's judgments for self-awareness. Judgment's important. There's a reason that we have evolved to have this powerful tool to be able to make these rational decisions, to think for ourselves. And sometimes you'll find that your judgment isn't even coming from yourself. Maybe you judge something because that's what your family judges, or your religion, or the society you were raised in. And it's not actually an accurate reflection of what you feel. That is also powerful information. So judgment is a tool. It is a tool that can be a gift, even if it's harsh. Sometimes we need that, okay? And, walk that line. Make sure the person is able to take in your judgment at that moment of time. If someone is broken down, crying, it might not be the best time to give them your harsh judgment. But, listen to yourself, because sometimes even a judgment given at the wrong time can serve us later on, can serve us down the road. Judgments are not necessarily truth. They are not necessarily the most accurate viewpoint in the world. They, however, give you so much information, you would be silly not to use it. So this is my take on judgment. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. There's more pick a cards coming this week. So I'll see you there, and peace out.